Hey everybody, welcome back to What Have I Seen Lately. This is day 3 of this series. And originally I had another film in mind for today, but that film I'm actually going to save for a film of the week because of it being um, quite a notable piece. But this film in particular, I have been interested to see it for some time, so I figured to swap that film out for this one. That film being Wild, which was directed by Jean-Marc Vallée, I think that's how you say his name, who also did notable film Dallas Buyers Club starring Matthew McConaughey, which I really, really enjoy. It's actually one of my favorite films from that decade. Um, Stars Reese Witherspoon as well as Laura Dern, specifically Reese Witherspoon. Um, she is Cheryl, and she is on a hike. She's on quite the hike, where she's on the Pacific Crest Trail. She decides to hike the entire trail, or at least up until a certain point, which is to a bridge called the Children of Gods, I believe. And um, she takes on this like big backpacking trip as a means of reminiscing, as a ways of redeeming herself, um, because as you study the character as the film unfolds and you learn more about her and you peel the layers of how she feels and the literal events that she has been through, um, what you get is a film about trauma and about how traumatic events ultimately lead to a string of failures and making life-changing decisions for oneself. And in the case of Reese Witherspoon's character, um, without giving much away, she went through a great tragedy in her life, and that tragedy um, uh, pushed her into a life of just of uh, hoish. That's the word. She basically turned into a hoe, and um, and eventually she comes to going on this quest, um, and what I found really really absorbing about the film is twofold. One is the craftsmanship being put forth by its directing, and also by its editing. I think that the editing in this is very particular. It's not one that really is of a slow burn. It has a pace that keeps the momentum afloat while also being um, uh, uh, spacious, if that's a word, or what's the word I'm looking for? Um, Wide. It's not a film that is like get these points across and let's leave. It's a film that really lets its subjects and its ideas breathe. Absolutely. Um, and for another to use that for that term, absorbing. I think the performance by Reese Witherspoon here is really really terrific. Um, I think she puts in some really great work here, and her character is she's always in a self-destructive type of mindset, and she's in a very wakeful mindset. There's a great visual in the film where because she has this big backpack that she's hiking around with, and the first time when she's actually trying to get that backpack on, you see how hard it is for her um, to get the backpack on, and at that point you have gotten an idea that she is dealing with some kind of trauma. So the visual idea, the literal metaphor of her trying to get that back on, is her bearing a certain kind of weight. Um, and I found that to be really, really, I found that visual idea to be um, very informative. And the same for that performance. What Reese Witherspoon is bringing. Um, I think that it's visually pleasant. I love the scenery. It's really, really meditative and very, um, very natural. It doesn't feel filtered. It doesn't feel like we're pronouncing certain colors, for the sake of looking pretty. It just looks pretty because it just is. And the environment itself is just really, really, a thing to look at. Um, and I think that what really kept me, on board with it is just the ideas on its mind. I mean, it's a character that I don't have much sympathy for because of the some of the stuff that they end up getting into as a result of trauma. But I wish that character well. It's a character that I do want to see redeemed, and I do want that character to get better. So it's not like it's a character that I am like completely cynical or completely against. There it finds a spot where it shows you that she is deeply flawed, and she has been, the result of many failures. So it's not like the movie's trying to be very ignorant in design. It's a film that's portraying an honest portrait of this particular character and their circumstance and how they're dealing with their own grief and their own regret and their own trauma simultaneously. Um, I thought it was really well told. I thought the performance at the center of it I felt to be really absorbing, really involving in terms of atmosphere, visually just a delight. It's like my only knocks against it would be that some of its technical choices I felt were um, a bit redundant. There are times where there's an inner monologue or inner dialogue that's being played, and I feel like that at those points it's not needed as often as it was utilized. And it does feel at some point that it does get rather aimless, because there's a point to where everything is kind of told to you about her circumstance and how she got here and what she's struggling with eternally and emotionally. And there's like a good like 10 minutes there where you're just like, okay, so now what? She goes to another site and then she goes to another site and then she's on the trail again and then she's having reminiscence again. And it's like, she's kind of, she's kind of spinning in circles. And I guess it that is the point, because by the time, by the time I started asking myself, okay, where are we going? That's when we reach the end, and then she ends up at the children of God. Um, so it might be, purposeful in that. So, but it's just the viewing of it. It felt rather aimless and not purposeful in design. Um, but those are my only real knocks on it. I mean, like I said, I think it's really, really, it's what Nomadland should have been. And I thought it was just really, really, really involving and really investing and really engaging. Just I really, really enjoyed it. I found myself really enjoying it, its company, um, and uh, it makes me also curious to see more of the director's work, because I really loved Dallas Buyers Club because of its style and its craftsmanship, and Wild bears a lot of um, those um, those sensibilities. So I'm very curious to see more of his work. I know he did Big Little Lies, the TV show, but I'm curious to see more of his film work and see, if those sensibilities that I jive with are also present in other films of his, because this and Dallas Buyers Club are really solid pieces, and um, I'm really glad that a film about trauma does not, excuse the wrongdoing, um, within its character. Because sometimes in addressing trauma, there's a there's a blindness that sometimes is met in storytelling. I really admire the honesty that the film bears, and that's why I found myself really enjoying it. Um, so, so those are my thoughts on Wild. I found it to be really good, and you guys want to know your thoughts on Wild if you guys have seen it in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it for me, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, and until then, being tomorrow, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.